Selamat Tanggahari. It's an honor to be speaking to you here today, alongside such an esteemed group of presenters at this important conference. At this time, 80 years ago, you would have found my grandfather, some 1,800 kilometers east of here, in Borneo. Walter Raymond Allen from Bondi came to the region with the Royal Australian Air Force as the World War II was nearing its end. He had a humble but important job as part of Australia's contribution to the Allied effort, repairing, servicing, and running spare parts for our aircraft. And of all that my grandfather did while he was in Borneo, I'm particularly glad of one thing. He was a keen photographer. And so during his time living amongst the local community, my grandfather took photos of his friends and daily life in the kampong. And when he showed me these photos as a young boy and shared stories of his time in Borneo, he spoke of the kindness, the warmth, and the generosity of the local people he had met. And when I had the honor of returning to the region as Acting High Commissioner here in Kuala Lumpur, I couldn't help but feel the same. I've been overwhelmed by the hospitality of my Malaysian hosts, and so I'd like to say thank you. The opportunity to represent Australia at a commemorative service in Sandakan last year, and to meet the descendants of some of those who hadn't returned from that terrible place, gave me a new perspective on my grandfather's stories and photos. The experience challenged me to reflect on the past and to look ahead with purpose, as does the theme for the 38th Asia-Pacific Roundtable, Recalibrating Asia's Frontiers. Indeed, in these times, Australia and Malaysia face new and changing frontiers. Our sense of identity as bilateral partners and crucial players with agency in this dynamic region. Our economic resilience and how we protect our prosperity. And our security and how we work together to prevent conflict. Professor Faiz said when he opened this conference yesterday that the question is, how do we respond to these new frontiers? Collectively, creatively, and purposefully. And Australia's Foreign Minister has said, we live in the most dangerous set of circumstances since World War II. In times of deep uncertainty, we turn to our partners and our friends for support. And for Australia, Malaysia is one such friend. This year marks a major milestone. 70 years ago, Australia established its first diplomatic mission here in Kuala Lumpur. Back then, in 1955, the region looked vastly different. Yet that moment marked the beginning of a shared journey. 70 years of partnership gives us much to celebrate and a strong foundation to build upon. And Malaysia's 2025 ASEAN Chair theme of inclusivity and sustainability echoes the values that have long underpinned our relationship. You see, inclusivity is at the heart of who we are as Australians. We're a multicultural and diverse nation, where 1 in 2 Australians was either born overseas or has a parent who was born overseas. And this cultural and linguistic diversity shapes how we engage with the world and strengthens our understanding of and connection to the region. Our connection to Malaysia has been centered around education ties, and we're proud of the almost 500,000 Malaysian alumni of Australian education institutions, including at 5 Australian university campuses here in Malaysia. Our Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, embodies this connection. Her father, originally from Sabah, was among the first Colombo Plan scholars who went to study in Australia, where he met her mother. And Minister Wong spent her early years living in Kota Kinabalu before moving to Australia. As she often says, when we look around our neighbourhood, we see ourselves reflected. That's one reason why Australia has been, is, and will remain a steadfast and reliable partner for Southeast Asia. We're working with our partners in the region to shape a peaceful, stable and prosperous Southeast Asia, with ASEAN and ASEAN-led architecture at the centre. A region that's resilient, operating by agreed rules, norms and standards, where all countries can cooperate, trade and thrive, and where respect for sovereignty and international law is upheld. A region based on strategic balance, and one where all countries in the region exercise agency and play their part. We see ASEAN as holding the centre of the Indo-Pacific, and Australia was proud to become ASEAN's first dialogue partner in 1974 and first comprehensive strategic partner in 2021. and we're strong supporters of the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific. As this year's ASEAN chair, Malaysia has demonstrated commendable leadership in advancing a vision for peace, stability, and prosperity. We welcome the Kuala Lumpur Declaration at the recent summit and ASEAN leaders' decision to admit Timor-Leste as the 11th member in October. This is a key milestone in regional integration. We also recognise and support ASEAN's efforts to address the worsening crisis in Myanmar, including in particular the constructive efforts of the Special Envoy following the recent earthquake. And we continue to urge the regime to implement in full its commitments under ASEAN's 5-point consensus. Distinguished guests, economic turmoil is the second frontier we must face together. Amid geopolitical uncertainty and rising protectionism, it's tempting to turn inward. But resilience today means enduring shocks, adapting to change, and emerging stronger through cooperation, innovation, and trusted partnerships. For Australia and Malaysia, to open and outward-looking economies, this begins with an unwavering commitment to multilateralism and to the rules-based trading system. Our 4 free trade agreements with Malaysia are a testament to that commitment, and the results speak for themselves. Last year, two-way trade between our countries reached 91 billion ringgit, making Malaysia our second largest trading partner in ASEAN and a top 10 trading partner globally. By 2040, Southeast Asia is expected to be the world's 4th largest economy, and Australia wants to ensure that we're positioned to maximise our shared economic potential. We recognise that our security, prosperity, and economic future are intimately linked to the region. And that's the spirit behind Invested, Australia's Southeast Asia Economic Strategy to 2040. Launched by Prime Minister Albanese in 2023, this is a roadmap to boost two-way trade and investment with the region. Giving effect to the strategy, our 5.5 billion ringgit Southeast Asia Investment Financing Facility is building a strong pipeline of projects to boost Australian trade and investment in the region. And we're deep in collaboration in future-facing sectors, such as the ASEAN Power Grid and responsible AI, laying the groundwork for cleaner, more secure, connected regional energy future. Just this week, I was pleased to join a delegation of over 20 Australian companies working at the forefront of the energy transition here for the Energy Asia Conference. And in a time of global instability and tightening donor budgets, Australia remains steadfast in its commitment to a high-quality development assistance program in Southeast Asia, one that responds to the needs of our partners. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard much over the past 2 days about heightened tensions, both in our region and globally. In this context, the third frontier we face is how we can work together to prevent conflict. Since the end of the Second World War, over 70,000 Australian Defence Force personnel have served or have trained in Malaysia, including under the Five Power Defence Arrangement, which remains an indispensable anchor for regional security. Our military officers are embedded with each other's services, a rare arrangement built on mutual trust, respect, and deep operational cooperation. Together, we can conduct joint maritime domain awareness exercises over the Andaman and South China Seas, protecting vital waterways in accordance with international law. And later this year, we'll mark the 80th anniversary of the Sandakan death marches, where 1,787 Australian service personnel lost their lives. We'll also remember the tens of thousands of civilians who were killed in Malaysia during the Second World War. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. And their legacy is one of courage and a reminder of the tragedy for all parties when disputes are left unresolved to escalate into armed conflict. Distinguished guests, we today face the most confronting strategic circumstances in decades, with heightened risks of miscalculation or misunderstanding that could lead to catastrophic conflict. We're already seeing this in Russia's illegal and immoral invasion of Ukraine. And what's happening in Gaza is unacceptable. Palestinian civilians cannot be made to pay the price of defeating Hamas. Israel must allow a full and immediate resumption of humanitarian aid. And Australia is deeply concerned about the developing situation in the Middle East more broadly. We urge de-escalation, restraint, dialogue, and diplomacy. Closer to home, in the South China Sea, we're deeply concerned when countries pursue claims or engage in dangerous activities that are inconsistent with international law. But while these developments are of grave concern to us all, as Prime Minister Anwar said this morning, chaos is not inevitable. We should never resign ourselves to that in any circumstances. All countries, large and small, share a responsibility to shape the region we want. And that's why Australia strongly supports ASEAN-led preventive diplomacy frameworks, which build trust, enhance transparency, and help manage tensions. We look forward to co-hosting with Indonesia and Malaysia a workshop on conflict prevention later this year. And we welcome continued dialogue between the United States and China. Constructive engagement between major powers is vital to regional stability and prosperity. And just as Southeast Asia matters so much to Australia, it also holds strategic importance for the United States. And that's a point we've conveyed to the Trump administration. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we recalibrate for new frontiers, Australia will continue to listen to and work with the region's diverse voices as friends, as equals, and as partners. And while differences may from time to time exist, we share a common vision for our region, one that is peaceful, stable, prosperous, and respectful of sovereignty, where disputes will inevitably arise, but where differences are managed through peaceful means, guided by internationally agreed rules and norms, and in accordance with international law. And as we mark our 70th anniversary, Australia is honoured to have worked with Malaysia in all that we've achieved together. Our shared history, practical cooperation, and commitment to regional peace and security position us well for the journey ahead. I look forward to continuing to discuss with you over some fantastic Australian ribeye how we can work together as partners for the benefit of our region. Thank you for your attention. Terima kasih. Enjoy your lunch.